against her today?
I'm just happy we won. It was cool to play against her, and obviously a really great game. And like you said, this crowd was absolutely incredible.
Caitlin, what are your thoughts on all the moves so far and the state of this team?
I'm really excited. I think Kelly and Amber have done a really good job of, finding pieces that fit. It makes me excited about the future, obviously, with Steph and her staff coming in here, and my ability to work out with Keith all off season has been really fun.
Caitlin Clark's show is here. 5th game for Caitlin. 5 sellouts, television ratings in the 2 million range every single time she's been on national TV. It's been unlike anything this league has ever seen thus far.
There's a moment in sports when it becomes clear that one individual can transform an entire league. For the WNBA, that moment has arrived in the form of Caitlin Clark. Her name seems to echo everywhere, from TV promos to social media threads, and she hasn't even completed 2 full seasons of professional ball. The phenomenon is so intense that people are now talking about Clark in the same breath as icons who changed their sports forever, like Tiger Woods in golf or Serena Williams in tennis. The simple truth? She doesn't just move the needle, she has become the needle. Suddenly, major arena doors are swinging open, social media is buzzing with rivalries real and imagined, and fans who barely glanced at women's basketball are lining up to see what the hype is all about. Rewind to Caitlin Clark's early days, and the clues were all there. Her college career was more than just solid, it was revolutionary. She delivered nightly scoring clinics, and her three-point range was downright shocking to opponents who had done their scouting homework. Still, college stardom doesn't always translate into professional success. Plenty of big names have stormed the college floor, only to fade once they face taller, faster, and more experienced competition in the pros. Clark, however, turned those expectations upside down. Right after she declared for the WNBA, pre-draft chatter suggested she'd be the top pick who could single-handedly transform a struggling franchise. Yet there were doubters. Could she adapt her fearless playing style to a league where defense is more physical, where opponents have studied her every tendency, and where superstars like Angel Reese and Asia Wilson already reign supreme? Early glimpses in training camp eased most of those concerns. Coaches whispered about her rapid integration of advanced game plans, her lightning-quick release from behind the arc, and her uncanny court vision. Something special was brewing. Off the court, media outlets fought to book her for interviews. Even folks who never watched women's basketball before recognized the name. Online engagement around Clark soared, dwarfing that of her peers. Suddenly, the WNBA had a budding superstar whose fan base wasn't limited to one demographic or region. It was spread out, drawing in men and women, casual sports followers and diehard hoops fans alike. The shift felt monumental, yet no one realized how massive it would become. Her critics, of course, took to social media, overhyped. They labeled her. Wait till she faces real competition. But with each passing game, she proved them wrong by breaking team records and selling out venues that were rarely at capacity before. That was only the beginning. Before Caitlin Clark's arrival, WNBA teams mostly played in smaller arenas that seated somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 fans, if they were lucky. The logic was simple: control overhead and create an intimate atmosphere that felt energetic, even if the crowd wasn't huge. Then came the Clark effect. One by one, franchises started announcing venue changes specifically for matchups against her team, the Indiana Fever. Atlanta, Chicago, Connecticut, Dallas, Las Vegas, Washington all decided to pack up and relocate key home games to NBA arenas that could hold 15,000 or more spectators. It wasn't a quiet move either. Press releases touted phrases like exceptional demand and unprecedented ticket sales, making it clear that something seismic was happening. Fans couldn't believe it. To see WNBA teams deliberately forsake their comfortable home courts showed just how big the Clark draw really was. The most eye-popping example: the Connecticut Sun crossing state lines to host the Fever in Boston's TD Garden. Think about that, an entirely different city, just so they could accommodate the anticipated wave of spectators wanting to see this young phenom. This exodus wasn't born out of some league mandate. It came from the raw economic allure of Caitlin Clark. Veteran players had mixed reactions. Some were thrilled to finally get the chance to play in iconic arenas, believing it elevated the entire league. Others felt overshadowed. WNBA stars who'd been around for years, forging rivalries and building dedicated fan bases, suddenly found themselves relegated to the undercard whenever Clark was in town. You could almost sense a collective sigh of disbelief. We've been here working hard, and it took a newcomer for arenas to open up. But from a business standpoint, no one could argue with the ticket sales. The hype was real, and the league was determined to capitalize on it. Anytime a breakout star emerges, the rumor mill starts churning at full blast. With Clark, the most talked about rivalry centered on Angel Reese, as some fans know her, due to their college clashes and social media back and forth. For a while, headlines insisted they were the two faces of the future, locked in a forever battle for supremacy. Yet as the season progressed, the storyline tilted overwhelmingly in Clark's favor. Angel Ree might have had a significant following and numerous endorsements, but the raw numbers, viewership, attendance, social media engagement told a different tale. Clark was lapping her in every measurable category. Simmering in the background was A'ja Wilson, widely considered the WNBA's face before Clark arrived. Wilson had her own legion of fans, MVP titles, and a championship pedigree. Yet her supporters couldn't help noticing that, as soon as Clark entered the scene, the league's marketing pivoted noticeably. Suddenly, the talk of the next big star was overshadowing the current ones. Rumors flew about resentment behind the scenes, though official statements from players and coaches remained polite. Publicly, they praised Clark's skills, acknowledging she could draw a new audience to the game. Privately, whispers indicated that not everyone was thrilled about ceding the spotlight so quickly. Drama cells and the WNBA's PR department certainly weren't above teasing potential showdowns. Can Clark topple the reigning champions? Or will Ree get her revenge? But as the weeks rolled on, it became obvious that the networks had picked their main character. They plastered Clark on promotional materials, not Ree or Wilson, for the league's biggest matchups. Suddenly, Clark versus Ree felt less like an even duel and more like an afterthought. That left fans on social media to speculate about behind-the-scenes tensions, fueling endless debates and conspiracies about why the league was placing all its chips on Caitlin. Then came the broadcast announcements. 41 nationally televised games featuring Clark and the Indiana Fever, an unheard-of figure for any WNBA franchise. ESPN, ABC, CBS, NBA TV, every network wanted a piece of the action. In some cases, they outright fought each other for the best time slots, wanting to air Clark's showdowns against marquee opponents in prime time. The rest of the league looked on with varying degrees of awe, envy, and confusion. Veteran players had legitimate concerns. After investing years in the WNBA, they expected at least a share of the spotlight. They'd built up the league during times when attendance hovered around 6,000, valiantly promoting women's basketball whenever they could. Now, a newcomer was dominating national TV coverage, sometimes overshadowing entire teams. The wave was unstoppable, though, and networks had little incentive to slow down. Clark's games consistently scored higher ratings, translating directly into advertising dollars and brand partnerships. Journalists and bloggers seized on the controversies, analyzing every angle. Was the league's over-reliance on Clark healthy for the long term, or was it a short-sighted cash grab? Did this one-player focus risk alienating the core audience that had supported the WNBA through thick and thin? Or was the league finally learning to embrace a transcendent talent, the way men's leagues do with superstars like LeBron James or Steph Curry? The debate raged on, each side firing statistics back and forth. In the end, the numbers were hard to dispute. Clark-driven broadcasts brought in more viewers, period. And for a league that craves mainstream acceptance, giving the networks what they want was simply smart business. You could see the ripple effects in every city where Clark's team played. Tickets sold out faster, lines at merchandise stands snaked down corridors, and local news outlets hyped up her arrival days in advance. Fans brought homemade signs celebrating her no-look passes and half-court buzzer beaters. The atmosphere felt electric, a rare sense that something significant was happening to women's basketball at last. Coaches from opposing teams sometimes lamented that the Caitlin show overshadowed their own rosters, but they also welcomed the extra revenue. It's tough to complain about thousands of new eyeballs and ticket sales, even if they're there primarily for the visiting player. Social media erupted with chatter. Some fans declared themselves Clark lifers, promising to follow her wherever she went. Others insisted that this hype was unsustainable and that the league should invest in marketing multiple stars for stability. WNBA executives, for their part, tried to walk a fine line. On one hand, they publicly celebrated Clark's success as a sign of growth for women's sports. On the other, they acknowledged needing to ensure that other players didn't feel neglected or sidestepped. Yet with each sold-out game and each broadcast record shattered, it became clearer that Clark was the new engine driving the league forward. The tension lingered, though. Part of the WNBA's identity has always been collective empowerment, lifting each other up, promoting an entire league of talented athletes. Funneling so much hype into one star felt, to some, like betraying the ethos they'd cultivated. But the bottom line results were undeniable. Teams that normally struggled to fill seats were seeing record crowds. It might not be fair or equal, critics argued, but it was progress in a sport that had long been fighting for every inch of mainstream attention. Beyond the excitement at courtside, a financial shockwave was coursing through the league. With Caitlin Clark at the center, sponsorship deals took a leap. Companies that once hesitated to invest heavily in the WNBA began inquiring about ad space and partnerships. Merch featuring her name or likeness flew off shelves, both physical and virtual. Overnight, the Indiana Fever, a team once overlooked, became a hot commodity, and their season tickets saw an astronomical uptick. Sports economists started comparing Clark's impact to that of top NBA talents, noting how a single superstar could elevate an entire franchise's financial standing. This sudden influx of money did more than fill pockets. It also ignited conversations about salary caps and player compensation. Historically, WNBA athletes have earned a fraction of what their NBA counterparts make, prompting many to play overseas in the offseason. If Clark is driving new revenue, some argue, it should be distributed across all players to foster overall league growth. Yet the counterargument suggests that the star herself may command a larger cut, given she's the catalyst for these booming profits. It's a debate that could shape the WNBA's future labor negotiations. Business analysts predict that if Clark continues on this trajectory, we'll see more corporate sponsorships funnel into women's basketball. That could mean higher quality broadcasts, better travel arrangements, and perhaps even expansions to new cities. It's an exciting prospect for those who've long championed the league's untapped potential. With this many eyes on women's basketball, doors that were once shut suddenly seem wide open. Doors leading to a new level of visibility, credibility, and money that the league never previously enjoyed. Zooming out, it's clear this isn't just about one athlete surpassing expectations. It's also about the shift in public perception. For years, the WNBA fought for a fraction of mainstream attention, overshadowed by the NBA's colossal popularity. Dedicated fans argued that if people just gave women's basketball a chance, they'd discover a fast-paced, skilled game full of dynamic athletes. Yet large-scale acceptance never seemed to catch fire in the way many had hoped, until now. Clark's appeal to a broader audience, including folks who seldom watched any women's sports, signals a tipping point. Naturally, her success has sparked speculation about how future stars will be received. Some are pointing to upcoming college sensations who might follow in Clark's footsteps, believing they too can jumpstart the next wave. Others wonder if this is a one-time affair, a unique convergence of talent, timing, and the league's readiness to embrace a marketable persona. There's also the question of whether this stardom might spark expansions or relocations. If certain cities can consistently sell out massive arenas for Clark, it's not far-fetched to imagine new ownership groups stepping forward, pitching the potential for bigger profits. Still, controversy follows every move she makes. Critics say the league and its broadcast partners are too reliant on a single star's aura. They warn of what happens if she faces a serious injury or experiences a slump. The entire hype could deflate, leaving everyone scrambling. Meanwhile, older fan bases who supported other stars feel their favorite players are undervalued. It's a delicate balancing act, and the WNBA knows it. Whether this is the golden moment that lifts all ships, or just a burst of excitement remains to be seen. But the sheer magnitude of the hype has already changed the narrative. Women's basketball is no longer viewed as an afterthought. It's front and center, thanks in large part to the unstoppable force that is Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark's impact on the WNBA has been nothing short of transformative. She arrived with enormous expectations and somehow exceeded them, convincing franchises to upgrade to NBA arenas, securing an unheard of 41 nationally televised games, and turning each matchup into a marquee event. Rivalries, controversies, and jealousies might swirl around her, but they do little to slow the momentum. The scoreboard says she's dominating on the court, while the turnstiles and TV ratings confirm she's dominating off it too. Think about that the next time you see thousands of fans lining up to watch a Fever game, or flick on your TV to catch yet another primetime broadcast starring the league's new superstar. It's more than a passing trend. It's a defining moment that could very well rewrite the blueprint for how women's sports capture America's attention. All eyes may be on Caitlin Clark now, but in that spotlight, an entire league stands poised to rise. The question is whether everyone else can keep up with a force that shows no signs of slowing down. Will her reign usher in a renaissance for the WNBA, or spark rivalries and fractures that challenge its unity? That's the story we'll all be watching unfold in real time, one headline making jump shot at a time.